Hey, welcome back yet again. Here we are with the final video where we are going to complete the outline and then turn it from an outline into a finished rough draft, and we'll also do all the little formatting crap because why not? I don't think that needs to be its own video. So anyway, so far we have brainstormed, we've come up with a working thesis statement, we've created an outline from the thesis statement. We've started the outline, and then we found some sources and created a works cited page. Just did that in the last video, and here we are finally where we're going to wrap all this up and have a finished rough draft to turn in. So let's get started with that. Okay, here is the Word doc we've been working in through all these videos. The point and the reasons. This is the first iteration of the thesis statement, which I am going to highlight and delete. And then we've got the thesis statement, the working thesis statement, which is also down here. So once again, I'm going to delete that. And this now just starts with the outline. And I'm going to save it because, as always, save often. So let's look at the outline. We've got an intro, we've got the body 1, body 2, body 3 paragraphs, and we've got a conclusion. We've done literally nothing on the conclusion and very little, well, nothing other than the thesis statement for the intro. For the body paragraphs, we have topic statements, we've got some context, and we've got transitions. What we need now are our quotes and some analysis. And once again, I am not going to make you watch me write things on the fly. I'm just going to, I'll paste the analysis in from the rough draft that's already been completed as part of that longer video that I keep referring to. But first, I want to go down here to the bottom of the outline. Below here, we've got 3 quotes. The way I like to write academic essays is to start by having my quotes. You'll notice that all of them are formatted correctly with MLA formatting. So all we have to do is paste them in. When I'm writing an essay, I'd like to have my quotes down here like this. And when I get to the part where I need the quote, I just go down, I copy it, I cut it, and paste it. So let's start doing that, starting with this first quote. This is a quote for our first body paragraph, which is where we talk about the border wall. And so I'm just going to put the quote in right here. And that worked out poorly. Yay. Let's do that. And then that. Problem solved. Oh, extra space. We'll get rid of that right there. So there's my quote, and I'm not even going to read it right now because we're going to read all of this. I'm going to read one of these paragraphs. I'm not going to read all 3 of them, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's find the quote for body paragraph 2. And that'll be, actually, let's not quite do it that way. Let's try it like this. And go back up to body paragraph 2 and evidence/quote. Hey, look at that, it worked. Okay, and then lastly, body paragraph 3. Once again, let's get this whole thing. You'll notice, by the way, that this is a long quote, and we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get out of this outline format. But for the time being, evidence quote and paste. And okay, that worked great. So now what we need for the 3 body paragraphs is analysis. Let's get the analysis, and again, I won't make you read or watch me write that. Let's just find the analysis and paste it. So there. Now, one of the things to keep in mind about analysis is that analysis needs to be approximately half of your body paragraph. You can see here that I pull that off. I tell my students to shoot for at least 3 sentences of analysis. More is good. Your analysis is really where most of your original thought is coming in here. It doesn't take a whole lot to come up with a topic statement and a transition, as you know from a couple videos back. It takes a little bit of thought of your thought in providing some context in your words, but your analysis where you explain the quote, this is really where like all of, not all, but this is the crux. Again, in my assignments, I care about what you think and why you think it. And this is where I get that. So your analysis is important. Any case, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. And let's see whether or not that works. Okay, great. So the analysis for body paragraph number 2. Here's the quote. Quote ends. The next sentence is there. And I'm just going to go there, copy. And here, analysis for the divisive rhetoric. Paste. Excellent. Okay. Finally, body paragraph 3, analysis. There's that quote. And there is no transition in this because we don't really transition. Again, just my opinion, but we don't really need to transition to the conclusion. I'm going to paste this here. Okay. Those are 3 completed body paragraphs. Let's read this third one. Finally, Donald Trump's, actually, you know what? I'm going to start with a transition from body paragraph 2. Not only is Trump's divisive rhetoric a problem, but his immigration policies, especially on our southern border, are problematic at best. Finally, Donald Trump's aggressive immigration policy of family separation makes him an ineffective world leader. Again, that's a little clunky, but this, again, is a rough draft, and we'll fix this during the revision process whenever we get around to doing that. In addition to the fact that immigrants are not the burden on our economy that President Trump claims they are, our barbaric immigration policy of separating children from their families sends a terrible message to the rest of the world. How much pain, cruelty, and chaos is the administration willing to inflict in order to appeal to President Trump's base? At least as much pain as children wailing when they are taken from their parents, at least as much cruelty as parents being told their children are going to be bathed when they in fact are being taken away, at least as much chaos as 2,300 children taken from their families with no credible plan or apparent concern for reuniting them. Family separation crisis is the in-text citation there. America is supposed to be a land of opportunity and hope. This is our analysis. This is explaining why this is an important quote. America is supposed to be a land of opportunity and hope. For centuries, people have been coming here in order to build a better life for themselves. When they are greeted at the border with suspicion, when they are treated like criminals for doing nothing more than coming here in the hopes of building a better life, when their children are taken from them, this sends a message to the rest of the world that America is no longer the country it says it is. When America warehouses children like so much product waiting to be shipped somewhere else, America has failed to live up to its own ideals. Okay, and then we move on to the conclusion, which let's do the conclusion right now. Here's our concluding paragraph. President Trump has an obsessive need to secure a legacy for himself by building a wall along our southern border, and he's asking American citizens to pay for his ego boost. President Trump continually fails to represent all Americans by attacking the ones he doesn't like. President Trump's family separation policies at our southern border send a message to the world that we are no longer the hopeful, tolerant country we say we are. That is a brief summary of our main points. Paste that in there. Then we're going to restate the thesis statement, or the thesis in light of new evidence presented in the paper. Because of these reasons, and several others as well, way too much, and several others as well, Donald Trump should not be the President of the United States. and copy, paste that in, and then our final thought or call to action. This is why it is crucial for all Americans to write their elected representatives and insist that they begin the impeachment process. Donald Trump's leadership is too weak and too toxic to be allowed to continue until the next election. Okay, so that's the call to action there. Let's copy and move this over. Boom. There's our conclusion. It is a bare bones conclusion. It could be filled out some more, but yet again, rough draft. So now we have our introduction to write. We've got the point, we've got the thesis statement, which is the point and the reasons. And I am actually, I'm going to do this. Now that we've got the working thesis statement, I'm going to bring this up here. And I am going to combine. There we go. There's our thesis statement. And it looks like that got sent over to the right a bit. That's okay. Moving it back. Thesis statement. Donald Trump is an ineffective leader, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now we just need to introduce the topic. And again, let's try that. We need to introduce the topic, and we need to provide some context. All the way back up here to the top. Donald Trump is a terrible president. He's openly, actually, Donald Trump is a terrible president. There is the topic, providing some context. His openly racist remarks, here. His openly racist remarks alone should have been enough to disqualify him from the position. His openly sexist and misogynist remarks alone should have been enough to disqualify him from the position. His earned reputation as a less than honorable businessman should have been enough to disqualify him from the position. The comments he made encouraging violence toward the people who opposed him at his political rallies during the election should have been enough to disqualify him from the position. Somehow he was not disqualified, and he wound up in the White House. Copy. Paste. Somehow he wound up in the White House. Donald Trump is an ineffective leader and should not be president because of his weird obsession with a border wall, his divisive rhetoric, and because of his family separation policy toward immigrants. There. Now we have a complete introduction paragraph. Also bare bones. Yes, it could be developed a little more. This is fine. So this is your completed outline. And this is as detailed as an outline gets. You cannot get a more detailed outline than this. This, of course, is not what an essay looks like, right? So we need to do a few things first. Let's actually highlight the whole thing. Let's start with that. This is all now just one big numbered list outline. I forgot about the works cited page. Let's actually go here to the bottom of this and go highlight everything up to the top. And now let's up here get rid of the numbered list. Okay, so let's see if we can just do this easily. All right, we'll have to do this a little bit at a time, but that's okay. I'm going to take that, I'm going to move everything all the way to the left. I'm going to do this for each paragraph, even though these aren't really paragraphs yet. Moving the whole thing all the way to the left. Okay, let's try this again. Moving the whole thing all the way to the left. Family separation. All the way to the left. And finally, the conclusion. And we're going to move that all the way to the left. Now, that's proper margins. MLA format says 1-inch margins all around. We don't now need all of these headers like introduction. It's obviously an intro paragraph. It's the first paragraph in a persuasive essay. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of introduction. And then we're going to get rid of these little individual headers. Introduce the topic. Provide context. Thesis statement. Okay, now we're going to go back up here and we're just going to start combining these into one paragraph. So there's that, and then backspace. There's a big paragraph. Beautiful. I'm going to go up here to the top. I'm going to indent the first line a ½ inch, which is how you do it in MLA. From this point forward, as we move from the outline to proper paper, I will start doing a little bit of the formatting as we go. Down here, body 1, border wall, don't need it, let's delete it. Topic statement, don't need it. Context, don't need it. Evidence / quote, don't need it. Let's get that right for the spacing. Analysis, don't need it. Transition, don't need it. Okay, and then let's start just backing off until we have one paragraph. Okay, and I'm going to back this off and then hit enter, and it automatically gives us a indent on the first line. Let's go down to body paragraph 2, divisive rhetoric, don't need it. Topic statement, context, and analysis, transition. Okay, backing off until we have just a solid paragraph. Okay, and indent the first line. Going down. Let's try going back up. There we go. Okay, body paragraph 3, family separation, don't need that. Don't need the headers. Okay. Now that actually needs to drop down a bit, and we'll get to that. Up here, let's indent this paragraph. This is our long quote, and because it's a long quote, it needs to be formatted differently. We'll get to that in a second. Let's go down to the conclusion. Don't need this. Brief summary of your main points. Don't need that. Restate the thesis in light of new evidence in the paper. Final thought / call to action. This is definitely a call to action. And we'll indent the first line. Okay, so here is now something that looks roughly like an essay with the works cited page down here. First thing I want to do, actually just for the purposes of scrolling, the last thing I'm going to do is make it all double spaced. First thing I want to do is give this thing some page numbers. I'm going to go all the way to the top here, and I'm going to drop down, and I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to go to Insert up here in the Word Doc tab, and then I'm going to go to Page Number, top of page. Good Lord, it's slow. All the way to the right, and I'm going to put my last name in here, Hatch, space, and then that's it. I'm gonna close it. There's on every page now is gonna be hatch 2, hatch 3. We'll get to the works cited page at the end there. So great, there's my page numbers. Now we're still back at the top. I want to put in my name. What are the 4 parts? Student name, teacher name, the class, and the date. So, Professor Hatch, English 1A, or 101, or whatever, depends on the school you're at. And finally, the date, and that can be today's date, 2019, or it can be the due date. If you wanted to do this by the absolute letter of MLA law, you would put, what would it be, 8 August, and you abbreviate months down to 3, 8 Aug 2019. Or you could just leave it like that. Again, other professors might get really uptight about this sort of thing. I don't know. I don't really care. As long as there's a date. I don't care if it's the due date or the date that you typed it all up and printed it out. As long as there's a date that looks roughly like in the same week that the thing was due, that's perfect. Okay, so there's the title information and all that. Oh, there's no title though. Let's drop this down. Why Donald Trump should not be president. And then titles get centered. Is that what I did on the last one? Oh, look at I did a contraction. Technically, contractions are not so good for academic writing, but I don't really want to get into a whole thing about that right now. So why Donald Trump should not be president? There's a perfectly acceptable title. Is it really creative? Hell no. Rough draft. And honestly, it's fine for the final draft. Titles are not that big a deal. They're nothing to get all hung up on. Okay, let's make this thing double spaced. I am going to highlight the entire thing. I don't know what the hell just happened there. I'm going to highlight the entire thing, and all of this should be indented correctly still. Okay, beautiful. I have no idea what key I hit to do that. Okay, I'm going to right click. To highlight the entire thing, you hit Control A on your keyboard. I'm going to right click on the text and select paragraph, and I'm going to select line spacing, which should be double. Put a check mark there where it says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. Okay. Now I have a double-spaced academic essay that is almost perfectly formatted. There's a little extra space there. We'll get to fixing that in a second. We want to fix, you'll notice, so all these quotes, here's a quote, it goes 4 lines, 3-4 lines. Any quote that is longer than 3 or 4 lines, it has to be a block quote, or what we call a long quote. And it behaves a little differently. And one of the ways it behaves differently is it gets indented a full inch. So that's a half inch, and that's a full inch. That looks maybe a little bit weird, but that's actually correctly formatted. Here's where it's introduced. A terrible message to the rest of the world, and then here's the long quote, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Also, let's look at another quote here from there. Terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. End quote. There's no punctuation there. End quote. Space. Parentheses. Baker. Close parentheses. Period. That's the correct way to do an in-text citation for short quotes or normal quotes. In this case, you have the punctuation, there's the period. Because it's a block quote, you end it, you close the quotation marks out, and then you put in the parenthetical citation, family separation crisis. That is also correct, and I know they're different, but the rules are different from short quotes to long quotes because I don't know why. MLA, I guess, couldn't possibly live with itself if it wasn't constantly keeping us guessing and confusing the hell out of us. not to talk about MLA, whatever. Anyway, the rest of this paragraph continues. There's no indentation here because it's not a new paragraph. And then we have an indentation where the conclusion starts and a completely blank page. Let's go right here and just hit delete until we see the works cited page appear below. Okay, and here's the works cited page appearing. I'm not sure what's happening with this. Let's bring that up. Okay, yeah, that looks a little better. And let's do the same down here. I don't know why we have this extra space here. Cool. All right, that looks like a perfectly formatted works cited page. The only thing that is technically wrong with it is that it has a page number, and it's technically not supposed to. I don't care if someone turns in a works cited page with their last name and a page number in the header, but if you want to get rid of it, let's actually do this. Let me close that out. Let's go back up here. Okay, I just got rid of that line break. And so I'm going to go to, I think, insert. Is that what I want to do, or is it page layout? It is page layout. Breaks. I'm going to click on the downward arrow by where it says breaks there. I'm going to hit next page. Now it automatically drops me to the top of the next page. So if we drop down, it always moves the works cited to the top of the next page. But let's undo that. Okay, now let's click in this header here. And there's a thing here that says link to previous that you can see is highlighted. Just click it so that it's no longer highlighted. Get rid of that hatch 4, hit close, and now there's no page number there, but the page number is in the header where it's supposed to be on all the other pages in the document. Okay, this is a finished rough draft. It is formatted. I'm just going to go ahead and say perfectly. There might be something wrong here or there, but again, this is a rough draft. And let's look at the text. And remember, when you have to meet, I assign 1,000-word essays most of the time. Let's look and see. You're not going to count any of the stuff that isn't the body, the main body of the essay. The title doesn't count. My name and the professor's name and all that. None of that counts. So, and most importantly, the works cited page doesn't count. So we have 919 words. We are damn close to the 1,000-word minimum word count. We can totally fix that any number of ways during the revision process, but that obviously is a video for a later time. This has probably gone on way too long. Let's end it here. Let's not end it here. One last thing I want to say. All the little formatting tricks that I've done in these last few minutes, this is obviously how to do it in Microsoft Word. If you type in Pages, if you type in Google Docs, just Google it and figure out how to do what needs to be done in Google Docs. I don't ever use Google Docs. I couldn't possibly tell you how to create a works cited page, or how to enter a page number. I know that it can be done, though. I'm just not sure how. So if you're unsure of how to do that, Google it. All right, now I'm going to be quiet. Now we're going to end this.